You are tuned to the emergency station.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the GARF Network. I'm Eric. And I think Matt might be frozen, or I'm frozen. But tonight we have special effects artist, businessman, filmmaker Jason Baker on board. He's going to join us in a little bit for a live interview. Before we get into that, we have some business to take care of. Just wanted to mention that all of our broadcasts are brought to you free of charge by the George A. Romero Foundation. You can visit our website. Here's the link. If you want to see all the latest events that we have going on, our upcoming events or broadcasts, you can find it out there. We also have all sorts of exclusive merchandise in the shop right now. We have GARF Foundation merchandise, but we have a ton of stuff available for the 40th anniversary of Night Riders, from T-shirts to hoodies to mugs, all sorts of things. And I believe we have some more items coming along in that line as well. Also, we have our latest pins that were a big hit at the Living Dead weekend. So definitely get over to the shop, check that out. We also have our Patreon page. If you want another way to contribute to the GARF, we have all sorts of levels of membership that are available where you can subscribe and contribute on a monthly basis. And then obviously this is our Facebook page. You're probably watching us here, but if you're not, that's the official foundation Facebook page where you can see all of our broadcasts. And welcome back to the show at this time. What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on? I don't know what happened. As soon as we went live, it went just like shut down. So I don't know what happened. So I apologize. Hello, everybody.
What's crazy about that is I just kind of went with it because I don't know if I'm frozen or you're frozen. So I'm like, yeah, shoot, let me just start talking, Yeah. So I'm glad I did. But yeah, I just covering the merch and everything, Patreon page and
cool.
the foundation page. And
cool. No, that's me. I'm trying to get my other camera to work.
Okay. And actually, you're on a new machine for this, or is this the second time you've used this?
This is second time. It's not the machine. I think there's something going on with the Wi-Fi around here because it was a little spotty earlier for some reason. So not sure what's going on, but I'm here.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's see. I guess let's go ahead and bring on Jason.
Yeah.
What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. Live TV here.
So yeah. let me botch
I
this
know.
one horribly.
Let's see. Well, it looks like you have stuff in the background. Let's see if we can do a wide angle and get a. Oh yeah, very, very cool. Very cool.
My tchotchkes.
Yeah.
An array of useless junk.
Hey, we all have that kind of junk in our house.
Heck yeah.
But we love it. We wouldn't get rid of it though.
Absolutely not. No, and it's weird. You never. It's weird. Your room just comes to look like that. You don't just one day just go, I'm going to put this here, and it's just one day you've accumulated enough stuff, and there it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It never stops.
Most of it's not mine. The funny thing is that like Tom has run out of room at his house, so he started stashing stuff here. So I just like that's our unrunning now named my house, like the extended wing of the Savini Museum. So
well, Matt and I are going to forward you our mailing address just in case you run out of room.
There you go. Yeah.
We'll be C and D, wing C and D.
Does Tom like write his name on the bottom of the figure's feet like you did when you were
no,
that's you gave it to your friend?
The best part is like he'll buy something, take home, and be like, oh wait, I'm out of room. Hey, can I stash this at your house? And I'm like, yeah. And then he'll here to visit and be like, oh wow, where'd you get that? And I'm like, that's yours, dude. And he's like, oh yeah, well, let's take it back. So it's just sort of like it's more of just a stashing ground, kind of like an archive, I guess. And we just rotate out stuff at the Tom's house. So some of it stays here, but most of it goes over to his place. So
He really, I mean, you've seen it. He really ought to create a museum. He's got enough on hand.
Yeah,
to create one himself.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've tried to contact the Warhol Museum a few times, and they've never gotten back to us, or it just kind of fell through, or we got busy with other stuff. But yeah, absolutely. I've been telling Tom that for years. I think just between like his personal collection and some of the stuff that he has left over from some of the movie shoots would be just amazing for I think a lot of fans to see.
Absolutely. Yeah, and he probably doesn't even know everything he has. It's probably things that would surprise him.
Yeah. No, that's half the fun is like Tom and I will go looking for something and he'll be like, oh, hey, look, this is from The Burning. Or like, oh, wow, I haven't seen that since like, what was it? We were doing something and we were moving something around and we found, it was great. Like, I think it was like from The Prowler or The Burning, but it was a jar of blood. And just as a testament of Tom's craft, like usually like blood like goes bad after like a month, 6 months, whatever. Like this was older than I am, and it looked flawless. Like you look like you could crack it open and use it like right now on set. And I was like this is why you're the master.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us tonight. We've been meaning to get together for a while now, so it's really awesome to have you on the network. And just I don't know, kind of as an icebreaker, I was just curious what I imagine you got into horror. You were like us and got into horror films when you were a kid. What was it that first sparked your interest in special makeup effects?
I don't know, man. I think it's just my birthday's in October, and I'd always just spend my birthday money on like makeup and masks and stuff. And I'm also just a child of the 80s, so I grew up with, slashers and Saturday morning cartoons and just all that monsters and ghouls and cool stuff like that. And, I kind of just never went away. Like, when kids were like turning 14 and 15, like, they get in the cars and girls and party and everything else. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. But I'm also going to bring like 3 Fangorias with me. Is that cool? So, like, is it okay if I read the newest Fangoria in the car on the way to the kegger? Like, can we do that? So that was sort of, that thing. But, so yeah, I mean, just, I think just like a lot of everybody else dudes into horror and sci-fi, just sort of saw stuff when you were a kid and just was, enthralled by it and just never went away. And then I found out about the school in Pittsburgh, so I quit my job and moved out here and never went back.
Were you reading Fangoria and you're, into the special effects? Do you remember like one of the first things you ever created in terms of special effects or makeups you did?
No, I just do stuff like on myself and on friends and, like start with like your basic zombies and stuff. And cause finding, I'm so going to date myself. It's like back in my day, there like when I got into it, I was, teenager, early 20s, internet really wasn't a thing. Amazon wasn't a thing. So YouTube wasn't even really a thing. So just trying to learn about any of it was really just like guess and check. And there was only like one store within like driving distance that I knew of back home called Tri-D, and they sold like Ben Nye and Spirit Gum and Scar Wax and stuff like that. So it was just kind of accumulated whatever I could get my hands on and just was like, hey buddy, like we're friends, right? Can I glue this to your face and have with no idea what I'm doing? So
and how old were you and what was I'm sorry you weren't finished.
No, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering how old you were and what was going on in your life when you decided to opt for the Savini School, and what was it that kind of clicked for you? Like, I'm doing it now. This is what I'm doing.
I was like, I came to school a little later. I was like 23 or 24, and didn't really have much going on with my life. I was working as a FedEx driver. And it's a really good job, but the thing that I think kind of scared me was that I was like, oh man, like if you blink, 20 years will gone by and then like that's it. And I was like, I kind of wanted to like pursue art and do other things with my life. and I just saw an opportunity and I just kind of went for it. So. But I mean, I was always kind of just making, like, I was always running around with my friends and making, like, bad slashers, and I grew up in the suburbs of Seattle, so I'm like, there's free forest sets. Someone has someone's backyard looks like a Friday the 13th. Everyone's backyard looked like a Friday the 13th movie, so you didn't really have to go far to like get that like perfect backdrop to just run around in a cheap Spencer's Gifts mask and a machete and pretend to murder your friends.
Was the choice to go to Tom's school was that your only, like, you only wanted to go to Tom's school, or were you looking around at different places and kind of decided Tom's was where you wanted to go?
Yeah, I was looking around. Like there was I think there was again, suburbs of north of Seattle, so there was a school in Vancouver, so that was only like 2 hours away. But then I would have to deal with the whole visa, passport, all that jazz. I didn't really know of any schools in LA at the time. And, again, they'd always just kind of had Tom's school, Douglas, and Fangoria. So that was kind of just like, all right, this one's cool. And then looking into it, and, I liked the credentials that the teachers had and a bunch of stuff like that. So I was like, all right, well, seems like this can get me the most for my buck, so I went with that. And then after I graduated from there, I didn't have enough money to move to LA to pursue my career, so I got the awesome idea to enroll in the Romero filmmaking program, because I'm like, what's better than one student loan? 2 student loans. So
was this all in total 4 years? Both programs?
About 3 and change. I think each program's like 16 months. So, but I mean, I literally like graduated from Tom's program on a Friday and started George's on a Monday. So just kind of like rolled right into the next one. But I'm really grateful that I did that, in the sense that, one, I got to make it. I ended up making the documentary with Tom, and but 2. I think it really helps me be a better effects artist, in a sense that just working with other crews and knowing, camera angles, editing, working with directors and knowing, directing lingo and things of that nature. So it's really helped me build. It really helps me build a better relationship with other crew members on film sets and stuff like that. So I'm very, very grateful that I did it. So.
Talk about the relationship that you've built with Tom. Was that developed while at his school, or was that later on, maybe during the documentary process?
Yeah, I never really planned on working for Tom or really getting to know Tom. I just thought his school was pretty cool, and but yeah, I was through the process of making the documentary, and then Tom just needed some help. And it's funny, I always joke about how I started working for Tom and then with Tom is sort of like the Dread Pirate Roberts story from Princess Bride, almost like they kill you in the morning.
Uh-huh.
Every day that I worked with Tom, I thought was going to be my last day. So I was like, all right, well, then I'll just help him out today. And like, here it is, like 9 years later, and I'm still working with him. So.
And what was the first thing that started off with Tom? I mean, was it prior to the doc, or you said during the documentary is when everything got started, right?
Well, the whole reason the documentary kind of came about was I met him at the school, and then Tom hired me to do stuff on a short film he directed called The Wrong House, and we shot nights. So during the time we were filming, everybody would sleep, and Tom and I were the only 2 that could just fall asleep right away. So we ended up kind of just shooting the shit, hanging out, talking, whatever. And he would just tell me these kind of really cool stories about just like Vietnam and life and everything and work. And I just was really intrigued by all that. And then just seeing how he was with, his grandson was in the film. And so his daughter was there on set, and just seeing like how Tom's interaction with his family and then just seeing how he treated everybody. I was like, this guy's like really, really nice. And at the time, Tom kind of had a bad rap, like, a lot of internet rumors and people slamming him and all that shit. And I was like, I don't know like where that came from, but this guy is a fucking saint. So that kind of was the catalyst that started the whole story, and then getting to know him more and hearing about just all of it, and then and then just getting to know Tom and seeing like, dude, like I don't know, have you guys been to Tom's house yet?
Mm-mm.
You
No,
guys
I've not.
gotten to be over there? Oh, just Homer Simpson shit. Like you've never been? Um, but like when you go in his basement and you see how small this place is, and you're just like, wait, you guys did Day of the Dead down in this? Like you guys did Dawn of the Dead in this, and like Creepshow and Tales from the Dark, like in this little like hole in the wall. It's so just that like all of it just kind of was really the catalyst that made me want to tell his story. So, and and just seeing, nothing against single moms, but there's a lot of single mom stories, and there's not a lot of single dad stories. And Tom was a single dad for years, so I'm like, that also intrigued me. So it was just this catalyst of everything. So yeah, and now he's family. So kind of weird how that works out.
Had you seen, and you'd seen the prior documentary Scream Greats, and I think John Russo had one as well.
I hadn't seen. I don't think I saw Scream Greats till like I moved here.
No kidding.
You know what's funny was I always told Tom like I was a fan of his growing up, but I didn't realize that I was. Like, 3 of my favorite horror movies growing up were From Dusk Till Dawn, Creepshow, and Night of the Living Dead, 1990, and I didn't realize that like the Sex Machine did the effects on Creepshow and directed Night of the Living Dead. And I was like, wait, fuck. So like I remember like when Blu-ray or DVDs finally started coming out, and they had the behind the scenes stuff, and you're like, wait, that's fucking Sex Machine. Sex Machine directed this. That's awesome. So
that was kind of when I saw Scream Greats way back when I was a kid. That was kind of what made me realize I was a fan of his. I was like, oh my gosh, he did all my favorite movies, and then it's pretty much any hot movie of the era, you'd see his name in the credits. So yeah.
I had the same revelation when I saw From Dusk Till Dawn, and I saw Tom, and I was like, wait, that, and you connect the dots. You were like, holy shit, I'm a fan. And it was really like the first time you really kind of put it all together. And I was like, damn. And that just opened up the floodgates. And I was like, what else has he done that I don't know about? And how can I go and see it? And that got a lot of trips to Blockbuster.
Yeah. No, man. One of the things that, Tom always tells us, and I still think it holds true to this day, is the more stuff that you do, the more stuff you get to do. And just being diverse. I don't think Tom would have had the relationship that he had with George if he wasn't as diverse. When you hear the stories about how like Tom was hired just to do the effects for Dawn of the Dead. And then, but then George found out that Tom was really agile, and he was like, hey, and was like this certified stunt guy. So that's how like a lot of the biker stuff came in and other stuff, and or just finding out the onset photographer on Night Rider, one of the onset photographers on Night Riders, or just across the board. It's like if you need if you need a gap filled somewhere on a film set, you just call Tom, and like he could do it. On like everything from like directing to craft services, somewhere in there, like Tom could do it. And that was one of the really cool things I liked about working with Tom is, like, again, like when you talk to him, like he knows camera, he knows lights, he knows action, he knows directing, he knows acting. And so like when you talk to him and he's directing, he tells you all of these things. And so like he can communicate with every single department. And I've worked with a lot of directors who unfortunately can't, a lot of, and so, it's just, again, it just goes to show, like, again, like Tom said, the more you get to do, or the more you can do, the more you get to do. So.
The documentary on Tom, Smoke and Mirrors, fantastic documentary. You can see it on Shudder right now. I want to say it's on Amazon Prime as well. That genesis of that was born while you were in the George Romero film program. I mean, like did you shoot your first footage on that while a part of that program?
Yeah, I did, because I didn't have like all the camera rentals and stuff in my tuition. So I was like, I'm going to shoot as much of this as I can before I got to start shelling out of my own pocket. You know, and then there was a time where it was like we'd go and like hawk a bunch of stuff to get gas money to go shoot interviews. And then, you know, God bless Rob Lucas, our producer, who came on and like helped us find financing and just kind of helped us, you know, finish the thing and get it done. So, yeah, but it was definitely a struggle. And, I don't want to say a struggle. It was really just a timing issue, which was horrible. Not even horrible, but it was, you know, like we'd shoot an interview with Tom. And then, you know, like 2 days later, Tom would be like, "Oh man, I forgot to mention this thing." And I'm like, "Well, that's pretty important, isn't it, Tom?" He's like, "Yeah, let's do another interview and we'll talk about it." And I'm like, "Okay, great. When are you available?" He's like, I think in like 3 months when I get back from doing Django." And I'm like, "All right, well, we can't do anything for 3 months, you know?" Or like, and then, you know, or then trying to hunt down Tom's friends. Like, I remember we got an email back from Alice Cooper and he was like, "Hey, I have to be in your documentary. I'm available in August. Let's set something up." And I'm like, "It's January." You know, but you're like, "All right, sure." Yeah, you're not going to interview Alice Cooper, but it was stuff like that. So it's like, you know, and again, you can't ask people to take away time from their jobs, and you know, which is what we do. So it's, you know, whenever it's convenient, and that was the biggest hang up, I guess, for doing the documentary, was just trying to work around everyone's, you know, I'm trying to work around famous people's schedules. So, you know, it only took us 6 years to get it all done. So
do you see yourself doing more documentaries? Is that something that kind of, once you got it done, you looked at it and said, "I want," yeah.
Never. No. Maybe I learned so much. I don't want to like sit here and make it sound like it was like some horrible experience. It was just, it's just one of those things. So when like it hangs over, you know, like I don't, like when you're an artist and there's something that's not completed, it kind of like dwells on you and like haunts you in your sleep. And so it's just like always eating at you, even though there's times where it's like all you can do is sit and wait. So to like do that again, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, if I was to do it, I learned so much from doing Smoke and Mirrors, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity that if I was to do another documentary, I'd definitely like make sure I, did little things like, I don't know, had funding in place before we just ran out and started filming, or, you know, make sure we could lock down interviews before we could go and shoot stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I think it would just be something that would kind of just have to really intrigue me as much as Tom's story did to do it again. So, I mean, I'm not going to say never or no. You know, I mean, if the opportunity arises, of course I would do it. So, but it's something I don't want to just run and jump into that right away. I'd really like, my goal is right now is working on some screenplays with a few writers, and I'd like to do a narrative before I go back and do another documentary. So that's kind of one of my goals right now.
You mentioned someone named Mr. Lucas that came on to help you. How did that come about? And I don't know, how did that change the project? How did, you know, what changed when he came on board, and how did he come on board?
Well, Rob Lucas is Tom's best friend, and he owns Wolfpack Studios in Los Angeles, and we showed Rob a little bit of the edit where we were so far. And Rob was like, sat down with him, and he was like, "Cool, I think you guys need X, Y, and Z. I can help get you the funds to finish it. I think you're really close. It has a lot of potential." So yeah, Rob helped us with finding the financing and helping us get it out there. So I think if it wasn't for Rob, I don't think we would have got it done. If it wasn't for Greg Nicotero, I don't think we would have got it in front of Shudder. So between those two guys, I am forever in their debt. So
that was my next question. You know, the distribution process. That's incredible. So
yeah,
you had some, you know, you've got some good friends stepping up and got to help you get
Tom's
it out
got
there.
some good friends. I just got to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, they had faith in your work, and I'll be honest. When I first heard that there was another documentary coming out, I was like, well, geez, there's already a couple out there, aren't there? And then, you know, of course I see it, and it's just, you know, it's the other two documentaries cover his effects career. You cover like the human being, Tom Savini. So yeah, it's
well, that was kind of when I first met with Tom and pitched it to him. That was the same thing Tom kind of said. Was Tom was like, well, there's already Screen Greats and a few other. Do we really need to do another one? And I was like, yeah, but that's about your work. I want to tell the story of you. Like Tom is the story that intrigues me, not your resume. I mean, of course your resume intrigues me. You can't have one without the other. But, my kind of elevator pitch with Tom was that I didn't want to tell the story of the guy who just threw a bunch of fake blood all over the Monroeville Mall. I wanted to tell the story of the guy who threw a bunch of fake blood all over the Monroeville Mall and then had to be home to make sure his daughter was up in time for school. Like, that's the story that intrigued me. So
what was his response to that?
He was like, all right, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Once Tom was on board, he was on board. He was so helpful, where he could be, when he could be, just giving us unlimited access to his photographs and home videos and all of it. And just, and then helping out with getting contacts and helping get a hold of people for interviews and everything like that. So Tom was a huge, huge help with the film. So, but what was cool is when it was time to just sort of, let us tell the story, Tom just backed off and was like, all right, yeah, you guys do your thing.
And you mentioned it was 6 years, and I know a lot of it you said was waiting on certain people's schedules to open up for interviews and such. Was there anything else that was just, causing it for such a long time to come out?
No, it was just, again, before we had funding, it was sort of it was a passion project. So, I was spending what money I could on it. So I'd have to go, the whole thing was, I'd go take a job, work on a film for a month, make X amount of dollars and be like, well, now we have a little bit of money. Maybe we can go shoot an interview or try to go get to this person or that person or, work on it and stuff or stuff like that. So, again, it was really just the scheduling around everybody. So
was there anything after you finished the documentary, was there anything when you watched it and looked back, was there anything that wasn't in that you really wanted to and just weren't able to, or do you feel it's as complete as you can get it?
There's a few people that I wish we could have got, but that's just me. We thought we were going to get, and then there's some scheduling conflicts and this and that or whatever. But again, I'm really grateful for it. I'm really happy. And just the list of people that we got, unfortunately before they passed away, is great. Like Chili Billy's in there, who's unfortunately no longer with us. George is in there, who's unfortunately no longer with us. Tom's older brother, Hank, who's in the film, is unfortunately no longer with us. So just get those people's interviews before, and I was like, okay, well, now we have to finish the film if these are possibly the last interviews they've ever done. Mm-hmm. So, but again, George was a huge supporter of the film and just a big supporter of everything. So, no, we really had a really good group of people behind us, which just made us push forward and get it done.
Is there any plans for a Blu-ray or digital or physical release?
Yes. That was supposed to be out last year, but of course, like everything else, COVID decided to kick its ass and fuck that all up. So I believe December of this year.
Oh, really?
Is when they're trying for, like, by the end of the year. So add it to your Christmas list, people.
Can you tease that a little? Is there any extended bits or anything you can tease?
No, nothing really. There's some behind the scenes stuff and stuff like that, but nothing that I can. Maybe again, I was like, we put this together like a year and a half ago, and 2020 felt like 8 years. So I was like, I have no concept of space or time anymore. So, but yeah, it was supposed to be out, pushed back, and I believe they're aiming for the end of this year. So,
all right, can't wait to get my hands on that. That's great.
Yeah.
Great news.
I'm gonna be that guy and just give that out to everyone for Christmas presents. Yep. That's not pretentious, right? Just
Yeah. No, do it. You know what? And it is. It's a great documentary, and I was excited to see it because, it's Tom, and we'll watch anything about Tom because it's such a storied career. And I was surprised by the approach in a good way because it's more about Tom, and we only, a lot of us only get to see Tom when he's sitting behind a table to show or at a Q&A, and it's a great opportunity for people to really get to know the man himself. And I think he captured that perfectly.
Well, also the other thing too that I kind of got into it with some guy a while ago about like he was complaining about of course there's always going to be negative reviews, and he was like, there should be more about Tom's effects in his career, and I'm like, well then put in a DVD if that's what I'm like. The thing is, like every movie that Tom's done, how they've like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 has been released like 18 times on like between DVDs and Blu-ray. I'm like, what else is to cover? I'm like, The Burning has gotten like super special, ultra mega 4K releases and steelbooks, and or Dawn of the Dead just got like a fucking Bible sized Blu-ray release. And I'm like, what else is there out? Like, it was just one of those. I'm like, I just felt like if we just kept piling on with Tom's career, which as important as it is, I'm like, I just felt like we'd be treading familiar ground over and over again, and I'm like, that's not what I wanted to do with this. So that's why like I don't want to say we weaned away, but I was like, this stuff is easily available. I'm like, YouTube guys, put in a Blu-ray, put in a DVD. Every one of Tom's movies, I know because I helped Michael Felcher from Red Shirt like accumulate Tom's behind the scenes footage and stuff to send to Michael so Michael can do the behind the scenes documentaries for the new releases. So I'm like, yeah, it's all been kind of said and done before. So that's why I wanted to stay more with just Tom the man in the documentary.
Well, just to kind of wrap up your time in the film program, I mean, just to, obviously you spent a bulk of your time working on the documentary. Did you get to work closely at the school with George?
When I went through the film program, it technically wasn't called the George A. Romero filmmaking program yet. It was the previous name. It was the Factory. So when George put his name on, I was like, can I burn my diploma and re-enroll? Because this is like, now George just like, so. But no, I never got to work closely with George on that. A few other things, got to know him. I don't want to say well, compared to people like Greg and Tom and, other people who've known him like 40 plus years. But I was gracious enough to get to, spend some time with George, and he was fucking rad. So, I mean, enough to get his glasses tattooed on my hand here. So, but
awesome.
No, man, George was great. He was a huge supporter of the documentary and just everything we always did. It was really cool. So,
well, following your education and graduation, you connected with Tom. Was I believe the working with the WWE, was that one of the first things you got involved with him?
With Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. What it was Tom and Gino Crognali from KMB did a crown for Triple H for, I think it was WrestleMania 27 or something. And cut to like a few years later, they wanted another one, like same crown, just gold one this time. Well, Gino was on set for The Walking Dead, so he couldn't help Tom. And I was like, well, I can do it. I know how to tap fiberglass and do a bunch of other stuff. So I ended up doing it, helping Tom with it and doing that. And then, so that kind of started our relationship. That started my relationship working with Tom. And then a few of the other wrestlers needed stuff made. And Tom was like, well, you take them, and I trust you. I know you'll get it done. Just kind of keep me in the loop. Make sure, don't fuck me on this one, kid. And, and we'll go from there. And that's been our ongoing relationship for almost 10 years now with me and Tom and WWE. Is like I'll make sure everything gets done. I just keep Tom in the loop. He'll come, he'll help out, he'll give us suggestions or this or that or whatever, and then we just go from there. So yeah, we've built up a wonderful relationship with WWE, and we've become their go-to guys from when it comes to special effects and props. So, and I'm very honored about that.
Were you a wrestling fan?
I was, and it's definitely not what I thought I'd be getting into when I came to Tom's school. I was like, it's like, because when you look at like the school, when you sign up for the school and they like their pamphlets and everything, they talk about, it's like, oh, you can work in film and television or dentistry labs or, work for the FBI or this and that, or toy companies and this, they list all the things that like all the potential fields and things you can go into with your degree from the Savini program, but like WWE and professional wrestling is nowhere on that fucking list. So I was like, that was not what I thought I would like, that would be my bread and butter. But I'm like, I'm so grateful, and it's cool. And it's cool that like, with Tom, we've added one more avenue of, careers for students to potentially go into is making masks and props for professional wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, to answer your question, I loved wrestling when I was a kid. Of course I did. I grew up in the 80s. So like, the Hulk Hogan and Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior and Jake the Snake Roberts and all those guys. And then totally like fell out. I don't know. I think the last time I watched wrestling before we started working for him, like Stone Cold was still champion. So was it like 99 or something? And yeah. So yeah, when we started like going backstage, and it's like I should probably find out who a lot of these guys are. So, and but yeah, no. Now I have a newfound respect for it. Not just seeing like the show and the spectacle and everything, but getting like having the luxury of seeing like what goes on behind the camera and going on backstage, and then just seeing like the lifestyle that the wrestlers live, and all of it. Like it's really, really impressive, and I like hold all of them in the utmost respect. And it's definitely like an occupation that I could not do. I stub my toe and I'm asking for morphine. These guys, these guys get beat with chairs, and then they're like in their cars 20 minutes later driving to the next town. And I'm just like, oh, how do you do it? So.
You mentioned, early the first couple of projects was the Triple H, the Skull deal. What were some of the first projects that trickled in after that once business got going?
We did one of the guys. The first person that reached out to us was Eric Rowan, and at the time he was part of this faction called the Wyatt family, and they were like sort of backwoods cult leader. And Rowan had this sheet mask. And at the time, he had just like a plastic kind of, it looked like the one from like You're Next. Mm-hmm. Sort of very, very cheap, very like $5 from Party City looking thing. And he wanted something a little more durable. So Tom and I kind of like took that, recreated it, gave it a little bit more of like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets like dirty old antique doll kind of vibe. And then we just started evolving. Like we did the gas mask one that one was really popular with fans. That one was really fun. We did like a clown one. Rowan would just call me and be like, hey, I'm watching this movie. Like, make me a mask inspired by this horror movie. And I'm like, okay. So it's just kind of like, we just sort of slap some stuff together, or be like, what do you think of this? Or what do you think of that? And then, just go from there. So he's, he was a blast to work with. He's turned out to be one of my best friends. The guy came to my wedding. So, very, very gracious to have him in my life. And then we did that. And then we did Callisto, who's a luchador. So that was really fun, going from doing complete opposite, where it's, it's spooky, scary, to something that's really clean and pristine and, high end looking. But also going, Callisto was the first person we worked with that actually worked in his mask. Rowan and Triple H just wore him down to the ring, took him off. Kalisto did his whole match in them. So that totally was a whole new set of challenges for Tom and I, was just learning how to, just different techniques and stuff with all of it. So that was really, really fun and intriguing. And then a few other big projects here and there. And then we started working with Bray Wyatt and created The Fiend. And just kind of that took off. Yeah. So just a little bit, I think it was kind of a blip on the radar.
when you get a directive like that, like, hey, we want you to do this, do they give you a list of parameters, or do they kind of leave it up to you and your artistic interpretation, impressions, and then go from there?
It really depends. Sometimes if the wrestler's really passionate about it, we'll start talking about it, come up with a concept, do some concept sketches, and then take that to corporate to get it approved. And then there's times where corporate will have an idea. They'll already have the concept art completed, and then they'll send that to us and be like, this is what we want. This is what we're looking for. Can you stay within the frames of X, Y, and Z? And we just go from there. So, but, the Fiend was a complete original design by Bray Wyatt and myself. And, we spit back ideas back and forth. We were coming up with I think we worked on it for like 3 months, and we just kind of spitballing ideas, had some ideas, getting really close, coming up with it. And then, I did a few sketches. They were kind of close. And then Bray decided to reach out to an artist named Kyle Scarborough, and Scarborough took a crack at it, and it was fucking amazing. It's a beautiful piece of art. And once we got that back, everybody was on the same page from there. And that was sort of just like the green light. So if it wasn't for Kyle, I don't want to say we would have never got there, but definitely Kyle was a huge help in helping us realize that. So once we did that, then it was just off to the races with the design of the Fiend mask.
As an artist, is it easier or harder to work with a set of parameters, or just they call you up and say, make us a mask? Is there one that you prefer, or is it easier one way or the other? I really hate it when people are just like, oh yeah, make me something cool. And I'm like, well, what you think is cool? I might think it's dumb as shit. So that doesn't really work. Or it's like, make something spooky. And I'm like, well, what I'm afraid of, you might not be afraid of. I'm like, unless you're afraid of giraffes, this isn't going to work. So I hate giraffes. They're horrible. They are God's mistake. So. Okay, so what happened in your childhood? Did a giraffe chase you at the zoo or something?
No. When I was a child, this is so fucking stupid. I can't believe I'm going to tell this. This is the deep cut. Forget all the backstage stuff. This is noteworthy. This is the dirt sheets right here. The dentist, when I was a kid, the X-ray machine was painted like a giraffe. The wall was painted, and then they had the X-ray machine that comes down. So the whole thing was painted like a giraffe. And I just remember the lady being a total bitch. She'd shove that thing, that thing they shove in your mouth to do the X-rays, and she'd just kind of jerk your head, and then she'd shove that big. It was this Terminator giraffe hybrid looking fucking thing, just she'd stick it next to your face like Alien 3, and you weren't allowed to move. And here's this robotic android giraffe 2 inches from my face, and I'm 6 years old, and I'm fucking terrified. And my mom's in the waiting room. So I'm ever since then, I've just had this fuck you giraffes. So, so yeah, that's how we just went from my phobia of giraffes to making masks for professional wrestling in 30 seconds.
I was curious, do you think, you guys, obviously you've established a relationship with WWE through years of very good work, and it seems like, that pace has picked up lately. Do you think just because of your good work, they're just like, well, shoot, let's lean on these guys more. It's inspired them to think of more ways to use you?
I don't know, man. I hope so. I really hope so. But there's nothing. I can't be definitive. Yes, I'm extremely grateful for the opportunities and all the work they've given us. I'm very grateful for the fact that they keep coming back to us, which I guess proves that we're reliable. It's a good feeling knowing that there's a huge company like WWE wants a continuous working relationship with myself and Tom. So it's a really good feeling. So
yeah, huge vote of confidence. A corporation like that just keeps coming back to you time and time again. What is like? Have they ever come? I'm sure they've come at you with like a ridiculous turnaround time before, or whoops. All right, cover Matt, live TV.
There we go, live TV, folks. We'll get him back. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, no, I was just, it really does seem like, even though unfortunately Bray Wyatt's no longer with the company, that regardless, business still picking up. You know what I mean? There still seems to. There he is.
Hey, sorry, I don't know what happened.
You're like, sorry. Forbidden topic. I'm out.
I know. Yeah. The FBI said that is enough about giraffes. You are done, good sir.
I almost said to Eric, I said, let me go find a giraffe picture and just put it on the screen when he comes back.
See, it wasn't just a giraffe. It was this weird, fucked up, like Terminator giraffe hybrid. That's what was so terrifying about it. So,
gosh, what did we just ask? Can't even remember anymore. Whoops.
Oh, what were we talking about? Turnaround time?
Oh yeah. Was there a ridiculous, like we need this tomorrow kind of thing? Did that ever that ever pop up?
That's everyone in every production I've ever worked on. That's just how it goes. I mean, nothing too horrible, nothing that like was too traumatizing. Of course you always want more time, but I'm also an artist. I'm like, you give me more time, that's just more time I'm going to procrastinate. So,
yeah.
Be like, I totally need to. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
No. I was just gonna say, are you one that you like to have that quick turnaround time because you like to work under that pressure of, hey, we need this in 2 weeks, or do you like to have a little bit of time to flesh out the idea?
Oh, of course you want more time to work out and flesh out the idea. I always appreciate that, especially getting to approve. When you work on it, you get to figure out your concept art and figure out the sculpt and everything else. So there's definitely benefits to having more time, but also that's just sort of not realistic sometimes, or, just like any film production, something will come up last minute and it will be like, oh, hey, wait, we totally forgot. We need this, or is this possible? So you just kind of figure it out and go. So
I've got a question from a viewer. Let's see. How did you get involved with the Pinhead experience? Are you guys bringing that back at some point?
Hey, Rodrigo, what's going on, man? I know that guy. He's nice.
Yep.
Awesome.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I started helping. Tom and I were helping Doug, and then Steve Tolan and them got involved and took over, and they knocked it out of the fucking park, and they were nice enough to let Tom and I just kind of hang out and help out and be a part of it with them. And I would love to do it again. Kyle Roberts and I had so much fun. Kyle's a phenomenal artist. He's so much fun to work with and be around. He just came and did Zombies with me for WWE a few months ago. So that was a blast to just get to hang out and do that. But I hope so. That's a Doug Bradley and Steph Shula question. But whenever they're ready, I'm down. So I got my makeup kit packed right over here. So just let me know.
That was a question. Yeah, I was curious if you were involved in the zombies, and I understand they were with WWE, and then there was some, a little bit of heat after. Did any of that heat come back to you? Or honestly, I haven't even seen it myself.
I thought it was a blast, and I'm just like, guys, it's like the word entertainment is literally in the brand name. Like it's entertainment, I'm like, I don't get people who get so like riled up. I'm like, okay, just don't watch it.
It's still real to me.
Yeah,
still real to me.
No, it's real. It's just I'm like, I don't know. They're zombies. So what? What is the Undertaker's a fucking zombie? Get over it.
Yeah.
Nobody bitches when the Undertaker comes out, but we send out Army of the Dead zombies, and it's like we slap their mothers. So
yeah, once Undertaker's involved, all bets are off, and that was circa 1990.
See, Undertaker's a zombie. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been killed how many times?
I know.
Set on fire, crucified, buried, and yet he still keeps coming back.
And Will Wilfley says the Miz is awful. LOL. Just wanted to throw that out there. What's up, Will?
Will also does not like
friend
Goldberg.
Of the show. Will does not like
what?
Goldberg.
Will does not like Goldberg, so his argument is invalid.
He doesn't. Nice. He does not like his work rate.
How can Will hate on the Miz, man? He's one of his own. Don't all those Cleveland guys stay together?
I
don't care. Will, I don't care how many Primanti Brothers sandwiches you eat. You'll still be from Cleveland, brother.
Shots fired.
The zombie thing, was that a long-term planned out deal, or was that a quick turnaround?
No, it was just I mean, it wasn't like the night before thing. That was a great experience, I mean, maybe not for the fans, but I had a blast. I got to work with Justin Raleigh and all the guys from Fractured Effects who did the actual effects for Army of the Dead. They brought us on to help out, and I had a great time. So sorry for partying.
As an artist, is there a certain type of effect or build or prop that you haven't done yet that you really want to get working on?
Yeah, I mean, but just too many to list. I'd love to do I'd love to do a war movie. I'd love to do blood and guts and gore for like a war film where it's not, not a guy in a hockey mask or a dead creature or something. I'm like doing the same amount of effects for other genres is always very intriguing to me. And I think it's maybe just because my dad was the cliche dad who he'd fall asleep and like Guns in the Navarone would be like at max volume at like 3 a.m. and you'd wake up to like machine gun fire from like Full Metal Jacket and stuff like that because he'd like fall asleep watching TV and everything when you were a kid. But just seeing seeing effects or hearing stories about how like one of the big things that helped KNB get away from just being the splatter guys was doing Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
And building the Buffaloes and stuff like that and showing we're a legitimate effects company. We can do everything from kids movies to, slashers. So, I'd love to do more stuff like that. I mean, I'm never not going to work on horror movies, but, just anything that doesn't have me outside at 4 a.m. spraying blood, getting sticky would possibly be fun. I don't know. So no, I love making slashers. I love doing all of it. It's just, I mean, it's a blast, man. I'm like, it's a wonderful occupation. I'm like, I get to do what I love and get paid. I'm literally no complaints.
Do you have a favorite type of effect that you just absolutely love to do no matter how many times you do it?
I I love just makeups. I really love just doing like prosthetic makeups. Different one, like just doing anything like from old age to zombies to whatever. I just love doing prosthetic makeups. Those are always like a really fun thing to me. That's something that like really intrigued me on coming to school. So anytime I get the chance to do it, I relish at it. So
I was curious how you got involved working with Slipknot. And sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say we met Corey. I met him at a show actually with Eric Rowan or Eric Redbeard, and we were just talking to Corey, and him and Tom have known each other for years, and he was sitting there gearing up to do the new Slipknot album, and I was like, yeah, man, you don't need any help, let me know. And Corey was like, cool, all right. Didn't think much of it, and then like a month later, just out of the blue, he texted me, was like, hey, you guys still want to do my mask? And I was like, yeah. Corey Taylor of Slipknot, I think we do. I think we can pencil you in. So yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. That was something that Corey wanted. It was something really basic, translucent. I personally loved how he pissed off the entire internet. I thought it was great. Because it's not what you would expect, and that's sort of, to me, is like the essence of like heavy metal and rock and roll. Just me personally is, throwing people curveballs. I'm like, if we would have done some like horrible, grotesque, zombie face or something, people would have been like, oh yeah, that's cool, but I've seen that from Tom Savini 100 times before. So to do something really, different and just unique was really fun. And that, and to me personally, Corey's mask was one of the most, probably, I don't think I've ever done as much homework for any project that we ended up doing for his mask. So that was really interesting, was just, when you do a silicone mask, one of the things you put behind it is the stuff called power mesh, and it's almost like a lacing. And that helps add durability and strength to the silicone so it doesn't tear as easy. Well, we couldn't do that for Corey's mask, so we had to, Tom and I called all these different silicone companies, and we're like having them send us trials and samples and tinkering with it, and then figuring out the exact thickness of the mask, so it would be diffused enough to where it would distort the makeups, but not so much to where you couldn't see it, and all this stuff. And then so we did, and then working with something that has to be 100% translucent, we had to build almost like a clean room, because any little like follicle, any hair, dust, anything would fall in there, and the whole thing was completely ruined. So it was a lot of work from a technical standpoint. So we do all that, and then the internet said we just glued a milk jug to his face. So what are you gonna do? So fuck the haters, I guess. I don't know.
Got a couple of viewer questions. Jason Huffman asks, who is your favorite wrestler of all time and why? Please say Miz.
Oh, I don't know. I'm Jake the Snake Roberts.
Hell yeah.
Because he wasn't. That was the thing, man. Is one, he looked like everyone's dad's friend. Like Jake the Snake just looked like he could show up at your house at any time to go fishing with your dad. Like,
yeah,
especially like growing up in the 80s, just like the mustache and the mullet. Like he looked like
that scary uncle that could flip on you.
Yeah. But it's also, but that was the thing, was like he wasn't, he didn't have muscles on muscles. But he was good at selling. And dude, and like, I don't know, is there a move more protected than Jake Snake's DDT? Like that's he hit that on a guy, and that was it. It was fucking over. Like no kicking out, no waking up, no hulking up. Like you were done. Yep. That was it. Yep. Like
I think
Jake the Snake, that was the DDT, and your soul left your body.
Yeah. I think that was the one move as a wrestling fan in the 80s. I don't remember anybody ever kicking out of that.
That's what I was going to say. I got to Google that. I wonder if anybody ever did.
There is, but I don't remember. I mean, like that was it. That thing was.
He put that hand in the air and waved it around, and as soon as he put you under, you knew you were done, and that was it. Like that was the end of the match. And absolutely perfect.
Or even when he, my favorite is when he wouldn't even announce it. When it was
The
almost
surprise
like,
ones.
yeah, when he'd hit almost like an RKO, when he would just hit it out of nowhere, and you're just like, oh, that's it.
Yep.
That guy's
Yep.
dead before he even hit the ground. You don't know.
And there were a lot of times where he would hit it and he would just kind of sit there for a second, you know, and he would like sell how devastating that move was, and then he would just kind of roll the opponent over. Like he knew they weren't getting up, so he wasn't in a hurry.
Yeah, Jake could have walked over to the concession stand and got a pretzel and came back, and that dude still wouldn't have got it. Like Jake could have went and checked out the merch, and that dude still would like.
You know, I guarantee you, if he was wrestling today and it was that protected, he would have done that.
Yeah,
that would be on screen. Yeah, he would literally walk to the merch stand.
Yeah, he could have tweeted mid match, and like the guy still wouldn't have got up. So yeah, so Jake the Snake all the way.
Will
is
is
one of the most
asking,
amazing people I've ever met. I had such a wonderful conversation with him. He's so nice. He's so humble. You know, I'm so grateful that he's clean and sober. From someone who's struggled with those problems. Also, you know, it's just so great to see him on the other side and not end up just another sad statistic. You know, and I think the guy's doing, and he's still doing some of the best work of his career right now. So.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you've seen the resurrection of Jake the Snake, the documentary. Oh my God, what an emotional like 2 hours that is. Like I sat there and watched it, and you just kind of have to take a breath at the end of it because he just goes through so much, and they show you how he comes back from it. Like you said, he's got this whole second career, and you know, I saw him on Wednesday night out in Pittsburgh, and the pop for him was great. Just because he's such a legend, and he's still around, and we still get more Jake. So
no, I think people pop. I honestly think he gets more of a pop now for his accomplishments with getting clean and sober, and just everybody coming through that than his wrestling career. I think the fact that like he's just like a testament to the human spirit outshadows his wrestling career at this point. And that's not to take away anything from his wrestling career. I'm just saying it's like, yeah, you wrestled, you did an amazing job, but then like, you know, everybody knows your downs, and then to come back from that and just still see you like alive and well is so amazing. So I think that's why he gets so much love and adulation from so many people, because it was one of those things to where I think the wrestling community just sat around for years waiting for it to be like, oh yeah, you know, former wrestler Jake the Snake Roberts found in a Motel 6 and fucking Wichita, Kansas this morning or something. You know, and it's like, nah, he's rocking and rolling, and he's, you know, and he's given back, which is amazing. You know, just any person to any art or any media or anything, you know, just to give back to the people coming up and just paying it forward is such an amazing tribute to that person.
He's able to earn a decent living as well. If you look at, you know, even as like in the late 90s, he was, you know, making a couple $100 here and there on the indies, and now he's got a consistent paycheck at this age. And like you said, who would have thought he'd have made it to this age, even under the best conditions? So yeah, it's and he's amazing story.
And he's still a good talker on the mic too. I don't think he's lost it at all.
Yeah, still got the promo.
Yeah, so there's a long answer to your short question, Jake the Snake Roberts. So, Jake, if you're watching this, we love you.
Will also wants us to ask about
no more questions from Will. He's done.
Of Grave of the Gods.
Oh yeah, that was a short trailer we did for Troma's Grindsploitation 1, directed by Robert Tennell, producer of Surf Nazis Must Die. That we just shot here in Pittsburgh. It was like a faux giallo Italian horror trailer that we did, and ended up in that film collection movie. I think the Grindsploitation series are just a bunch of fake trailers for fake movies. And it was funny because like we saw it, like we did ours, and then we saw the rest of the movie, and we're like, man, we tried way too hard. I was like, wait. It's like, we used real sound. Why did we just shoot this on our phones like everybody else? Now there's some pretty good ones, and then there's some ones that I'm just like, yeah. But
Well, I'm going to throw this link up real quick, and I wanted you to talk about for a minute how Callosum Studios got started over
You
the
got it
last
right.
year.
Yay!
I thank you. Yeah. So here's the link for anybody that wants to go check out some of Jason's work and some of the stuff they've got up for sale right now. But yeah, how did all of that get started?
Really what it was is I always joke with Tom about how I Godfather 3'd his ass. He thought he was out and I pulled him back in. So what it was I started working with, what was it? Probably 2012, 2013. I started doing stuff with Tom. We started getting, and then, Tom's still just getting job offers all the time. And he was like, well, you take them, you take them, you take them. And I'm like, all right, well, I want you to be, at least a part of this and be involved. You supervise. I'll make sure all the work gets done. And for the longest time, we were just running it out of like my basement and Tom's house and everywhere else. And we just got to the point where we just kept getting more work, and we eventually just needed to open a studio space. And I talked to Tom, told him, I was like, look, we're at a point, and I was like, do you want to reopen Savini Studios? And he's like, no, I don't. That just I don't want to deal with all that with the taxes and paperwork and everything else. I was like, okay, well, how about this? I'll open a studio. The rent will go, the business will be in my name, rent will be in my name. All responsibilities fall back on me. So that way your involvement is purely voluntary. And Tom agreed to it. So that's where Callosum Studios came back. Because, I'm like, dude, I love Tom. He's a fucking master. He's a father figure. I consider him family. I spend every holiday with him. But the guy's paid his dues. He's done it. He's killed himself. He's worked the 20-hour days. He's missed the birthdays. He's missed the graduations. All the shit that comes along with, this industry that people don't talk about. And I'm like, nah, man, it's time for you to go live your life. So that's why we came up with this agreement. So now it's like, Tom is considered our chief correspondent, our chief consultant. I'm the owner. We pay Tom accordingly. His percentage and all that good jazz for projects and stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm like, you don't need to worry about. I didn't want Tom to worry about paying the light bill, paying the rent, restocking supplies, doing conference calls, emails, everything else that comes along with running a business. So that's why we decided to not do, Savini Studios again, and that's why we started the new company. Callosum comes from the corpus callosum, which is the nerve endings that connect the left side of the brain to the right side of the brain. So there's that. People always say that, one half of the brain is artistic and the other side is like rational, logical business thinking. And I'm like, well, fuck, I kind of need both sides of this to run this business. I was like, oh, okay, well, the corpus callosum is what connects the two sides of the brain. That, and Tom and I both love Frankenstein, so we're like, oh, okay, brain, cool. So everything kind of just came together with that. So
now, had this began to formulate pre-pandemic, or is this entirely?
It was getting there, and then when we launched the masks, which we had no idea it was going to explode the way that it did. That the mask launching is what made us move into a location, just because we were literally out of room in all the spaces that we were working at before. So
yeah. I was an early adopter of that mask. You were probably the most positive thing to come out of that pandemic, because I got to wear a kick-ass mask everywhere I went. And I'd be walking in the store and I'd be walking down the aisle and I would see someone like look at me, and then I'd hear him go, "Did you see his mask?"
Yeah.
And
I've been with you when people were talking about your mask.
Yeah. I wore it to work every day through the pandemic, and people absolutely loved it. And I was so excited when I saw you do it, and then just to see everything that you did with them afterwards. I mean, it was just
the variety. Mm-hmm.
Just fantastic.
Yeah, once you branched out, I had to pick up the Nintendo style goalie mask, if you will. That was
retro style.
Yeah,
retro goalie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, man. Again, thank you guys so much. And I feel like I will always owe our customers an apology for how long it took to get some of them to them. We had no idea it was going to be that big of a reaction. But also, because of you guys, 20 people had jobs, including you, Will.
He clocked out. He's
oh, okay.
He's gone.
You can catch us on the recap. There you go. I'll text him afterwards. Be like, dude, I gave you a shout out. You weren't even there. No, it's cool. So yeah, everybody who was working for us all lost their jobs due to COVID. Like Will was working at a bookstore. We had a friend that was working at a dental lab. Another guy that was bartender, and and a few other people. And they're just like, yeah, man, I need something. I need a job. I was like, well, I'll teach you how to run a belt sander, and you can help clean these masks out. And it was just so grateful and so thankful for everyone's support and love. And did not think it was gonna go. And they're still selling.
I just was at Monster Mania this weekend outside of Philly, and I probably got asked a dozen times if they were selling them there. And I was like, nope, just go to their website. So I was shipping people to your website all weekend because they were like, is that the Jason Baker mask? I said, yes, it is. They're like, oh, I need to get one. I was like, well, go get one.
I was actually lucky. I was lucky enough to bump into you. You had the booth at the Living Dead weekend at the smaller event they did last fall, and I was able to just pick one up in person. So there was no, delay or anything. I was able to get it from you in person. So
what was funny was I don't want to say it's funny, but we planned on because sales started to slow down because the vaccine once the vaccine rollout started to happen, sales started to slow down, and we're like, okay, good, that means we can kind of slow this down and get back to hopefully then we'll get back into just doing regular effects work and things of that nature. Well, now I guess with the Delta variant, masks are, places are mandating masks again. So we're getting another wave of interest in people and stuff of that nature. So we're still going to keep them around until people don't want them anymore and just go from there. So.
Yeah, I was toying with the idea of getting one of the variants, and I'm like, oh, as soon as I buy it, I'm going to have to stop wearing it. And then I started thinking about a week ago, I was like, maybe I should get another one and have a variety. So you'll probably get an order from me here soon because if they're coming back, I want another one.
Yeah, and that's the idea. I mean, at first I was hesitant to get one because I'm like, well, these are beautiful masks, but geez, I just wish this pandemic would go away so I don't need one. So at the time, even last fall when I purchased one, I was even just purchased it to put it on the wall as a art piece, and here we are damn near a year later. It's still rocking and rolling. So I guess that would be my question. Is that's your intention to continue to sell items and to have a active store at Callosum?
No, I don't think we'll end up really doing. I mean, I don't say no, and then I'll say no, and then next week we'll be like selling something else. But the mask was just something that sort of just kind of came out of nowhere. Did it? A lot of people asked for them, and we just kept it available. And then hopefully when the pandemic goes away, we'll probably shut them all down. Mm. So just go from there. So.
So there's not going to be a retail focus at Callosum going forth necessarily?
No, probably not. Just that's a whole. I mean, you got to bring in a lot of people for that. I don't know a lot of people, but like you get to a certain point, and the only way to really make money is to ship things overseas and have them made that way, and and then you got to deal with people, and then you got to hire a whole other like shipping and receiving and accounts payable and all that jazz. And I'm just like, is that really something I really want to get into, or do I just want to make make some masks and do some gags and effects and stuff? So
up to now, you've been able to manage with just without, like you said, adding a accounting wing and such. You've been able to just kind of keep it in house. Yeah.
We had a few people. We had a girl. We still have a girl. We have Rachel, who does like all of our shipping and receiving, does our emails and stuff like that, helps out with all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, I didn't think, I was like, oh yeah, I can handle all this and work and sleep. And I was like, nope. After like 2 days, I was like, yeah, no, I need somebody. Like, this is not a thing. So
I saw recently you'd worked on a Leatherface mask. Can you talk about that a little bit?
yeah, absolutely. AJ Stone, the guy he played Leatherface a few scenes in the movie, as well as, I believe, what's his name? Do you guys know Texas Chainsaw 3D? Is it Kevin
Tom Morga? Oh yeah, Kevin.
Ari Mel, who played Leatherface in part 3?
No. Sorry, in 3D.
Oh, in 3D.
Yeah, was that,
no, I don't.
Was that Jaeger? So, but anyways, apparently what it was AJ's played Leatherface for the movie poster and the promotional materials, and there's a few scenes in the movie that he was also Leatherface. And he wanted to start doing promotional things, and he's working on some other projects yet that aren't really, not going to really talk about because they're still kind of coming up, but hopefully it'll be really cool. But yeah, he just wanted to do something unique and original, so he contacted us, and we designed a brand new Leatherface mask for him that we based sort of on from Texas Chainsaw 3D, and then kind of put our own kind of stamp on it. So that was an absolute blast. He was a great guy to work with, and I'm really, really looking forward to what he's got coming up in the future.
He's using that for like photo ops and stuff, or just.
I'll let him answer those.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
no worries.
So, yeah, I think there's a non-discrete somewhere here on this desk, or non-disclosure agreement somewhere on this desk from him.
So what's next for Callosum Studios? Obviously you have the ongoing work with WWE. What's on the horizon?
Yeah, that's always a possibility. We got a few projects coming out. We got a few movies coming out. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about them yet or not, so I'm not. Just to be safe. But I'm sure once it comes out, you guys will be the first ones to know. And yeah, just always looking for that next gig and that next project, and just going from there. And hopefully getting to take a break in the next couple of weeks. I posted a picture on my social media the other day. I've been rocking this robot boot thing for the next few days, so till my foot heals up, and then after that I'll be good. So, which is hilarious because just till like tomorrow or Tuesday, just a few days. Okay. I tore the muscles in my foot and they gave me some shots, and they're just like stay off it for a few days. But it's hilarious. Like, I'm pretty sure I jacked it up stepping out of the box out of the at WrestleMania. Like, I slipped, and the next thing I know is my foot's killing me. And like, it's just so funny because I'm the only person that probably got hurt at WrestleMania who wasn't in a match, and just having to go explain that to going to the sports therapy complex at UPMC, and they're like, "Oh, you got hurt at WrestleMania? Are you a wrestler?" I'm like, "No, I am a wardrobe person. I hurt my foot dressing Hulk Hogan up as a pirate. That's what happened." So, and like, what's so funny is the room I'm in is surrounded with pictures of Kurt Angle, and I'm with his broken neck winning the gold medal, and I'm like, I am such a bitch. It's just, I just felt so pathetic. So, good times.
Well, I mean, we hinted about this right before we came on the airs. I wanted to ask you what your favorite Halloween movie is, and why is it Halloween 3?
Why is it Halloween 3? Why is it not Halloween 3?
Yeah.
Because Halloween 3 is... Because, one, Tom Adkins.
Mm-hmm.
So...
How do you not love Tom Atkins? How
do you not love a guy that just ditches his kids to go drink beer and hook up with a stranger? He's just the worst dad ever in that movie. So
I know.
No. So no, I really like people trash Halloween 3, and I'm like, I think it's a really like fun, like it's the perfect Halloween movie. Like it's spooky, it's scary, it's a little campy, but also it holds a special place in my heart because when I first started dating my wife, we did the long distance thing for a long time, and we sent each other movies, like lists of movies to watch, and I sent her Halloween 3, and she went and got it, and like called me the next day. She's like, "Oh my god, the scene when the mask melts to the kid's head, I thought I made that up when I was like 6. And it turns out that it's a real thing. So thank you for showing me Halloween 3. So she's like, okay, now, like, she's like, I'm not crazy. I know that was just from like a movie. So.
Was there a movie on that list that you sent her that she's asked you to never show her again?
No, she's pretty gangster. She's pretty cool about some stuff. So yeah, I can't think of anything that she's just been like, this was horrible or grotesque or, you know. So she's pretty cool. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I think she's watching Jaws downstairs right now. So I'm like, yep. I want to spend the rest. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. You are amazing. So.
I don't really have a question about it. I just didn't want to get out of here without mentioning how cool the airport zombie makeup was that you did a couple years, 3 years ago now. It's
it's been a minute.
That was so cool.
Yeah, no, it's like, Paul's great. He's so much fun. Like he's just like, okay, like he just shows up and he's like, "Oh, you gonna glue that on me now? All right, not gonna say anything. Just lets me do it." So. But
was that an appliance that you had developed?
Yeah, we recreated because I don't remember if I think Tom sculpted that and then ran foam. I think that was a foam appliance in the original film. But what happened was Tom had a studio years on Butler Street in Lawrenceville, and when Butler Street got gentrified, they sold all the buildings and everything. The property owner came and told Tom he had like 2 weeks to move out. So when they were moving, apparently like this, Jerry Gergely told me this story, like a cart full of molds like fell over or fell off the loading dock or something. And I think a bunch of those were like the Dawn of the Dead molds. So they just, so pretty much all makeups and everything were just completely destroyed. So we recreated it, resculpted it and everything. And, it just went from there. We didn't get to do a live cast of Paul, so I just sculpted it on my fat head, and I was like, "Well, if it fits me, it'll fit anybody." So, and the beauty of doing makeup on Paul is bald, so you don't have to worry about like a hairline or anything else. So it's like perfect. Let's do it. So, but no, man, that's always fun. I love Living Dead Weekend. It's great to meet you guys there. And it's great seeing everybody. It was kind of bittersweet that. A lot of people who come over from across the pond weren't here this year, but like the Sargent family and those guys like Daz and Cheryl and all those wonderful, amazing people. If you guys are watching this, we love you. We miss you. But no, man, Living Dead Weekend is so much fun. And I'm like, where else in the world besides Pittsburgh is there somewhere that like where everybody gets together and just celebrates like the work of a group of people? That's one of the things I absolutely just love and adore about like the whole Romero and Tom and all those guys is they're just like, it's kind of like they were just like, fuck it, we'll do it ourselves. We don't need Hollywood. Let's just go make a movie in Pittsburgh and it'll be fucking awesome. And they did, and it was. So this is it's very inspiring, which is talking to George about filmmaking and stuff like that back in the day, they're just like, yeah, we didn't know what we were doing. We just thought it looked cool and said, fuck it, and went for it. So,
and then just the fact that Tom and George were in the same city at the same time and just happened to meet. I mean, the odds of that, and that potent relationship coming together. I mean, what if they had just never worked together, it's just amazing.
No, it's pretty cool. It's pretty surreal, especially like talking to George about all of it. And how George said it in the documentary that he's like, I couldn't have made some of the movies I made if it wasn't for Tom.
Yeah,
and
it's crucial.
stuff. And yeah, you know, I mean, and that's the thing is like, and it's nothing like, no disrespect to any of the actors or anybody who've been in Tom's films, but you know, when you talk to people about Romero's films, besides like the story and stuff like that, the first thing people usually bring up is the effects. You know, like the effects in Dawn of the Dead, you know, or the effects in Creepshow, like, you know, and things of that nature. So it's definitely like they just had a wonderful, amazing relationship, and I don't think you would have ever had one without the other. And you know, so, and that's the thing is like, you look at the movies that George did without Tom, they're good, but I don't think they're as memorable as the ones that he did with them. You know, and that's no disrespect to any of the guys who did, you know, who worked on Dark Half or Bruiser or, you know, Diary of the Dead or whatever. But I'm like, you know, when you look at like Creepshow and Dawn and
the names of
it's like,
the names of Romero and Savini on the same film carry a weight, and there's an expectation that you know is going to be met and most likely exceeded.
Yeah.
So they're looked at very differently, and rightfully so.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how far along it was, but I do know that George was trying to do something with Tom again before he passed. Like, so they were trying. I don't know if the script was done, this or that, but I know George, like, I'd hear him and Tom talking. Be like, George would be like, "Hey man, we got to do one more. Let's do one more before this or that." So, you know, it's like up till the time that George passed away, him and Tom had an amazing relationship together. So, and it was professional. They were friends. Like, that's how I met George, was that he would just, it was never on set. It was, "Hey, I'm in Pittsburgh. Let's go to lunch." You know, "Oh, Jason's there? Cool. Bring him with. Let's go." So, you know, Tom and George just had this amazing friendship that I was lucky to get to kind of just tag along and be a fly on the wall and hear him just talk about whatever. It was fucking rad.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how me and Matt feel when we get to listen to your stories, man. So we really appreciate you coming on tonight. And
no, well, thanks for having me, guys.
Spending this time with us. Yeah,
we've been excited to get you on here for a while just to pick your brain, and I know we could probably deep dive into a lot of stuff. So hopefully we'll find another reason to get you back on here to talk some more. Then, especially when you're working on stuff and get stuff done, definitely let us know and keep us in the loop so we can help you promote it and, you know, show people what you're doing, because you're doing great stuff.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Everybody get over to Callosum Studios. The link is still up. And those masks, when they're gone, they're gone. You know, when this pandemic is over, these things are going to be collector's items. I mean, they are already, but, you know, go ahead and get one now while you can still get one from Jason and his amazing team. So, yeah, and Matt and I both have one. We love them. They're great. Can't wait till they're permanently displayed on the wall, however.
Yeah.
But yeah, on behalf of Sue's and the rest of the GARF team, man, thanks so much for coming on and joining us. And yeah, we love your work, man. We can't wait to see what you got coming up in the future.
Oh, well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. Thank you.
All right, well, I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for this week. Not sure when we're coming back, but we have something coming up before too long. And with that, I am Matt.
Well, you're Eric, and I'm Matt.
I'm Matt. No, I'm Matt this week. It's been a while since I've done that. I'm Eric.
And I'm Matt.
We'll see you next time on the GARF Network.